Hello, welcome to True Cho on Wheels. Today drama erupted as some riders suggested skipping the first regroup, while others stated that the group will stop. Well, here we are with the group just leaving the regroup in question.
Yes, hi Arabella. Everyone was uncertain if regrouping was on or not. Finally, someone stepped up and called it. Some stayed close to the front just in case someone kept going.
There has been a lot of strong, wordy opinions being said. You guys, as grown-ups, make a decision already. Group 3 is a race-like training ride and lately has been treated as a non-drop ride.
Most routes only have one regroup. Often at the end of a long section that required a steady effort, this usually breaks a peloton apart into smaller groups. This makes your rides more challenging and better for everyone.
Listen to Adam. For once he's right. At least give it a try and see what happens. It is not the end of the world if you get dropped by a few teenagers. Yes, they are the ones that will be riding in the front, and the rest of you will be working together. Yes, working together to bring them back. Isn't this what is it all about?
Before I forget, results for the Strava segments points competition from last week's Brea Canyon will be posted at the end of the video. Regardless of the not cool breakaway group, points were given accordingly. And guess what? Both groups mix well. This shows exactly how this works, mostly by effort and not only by speed.
Oh yes, rules for the breakaway is another topic you guys need to address. Whatever. Our guest commentator is back. I don't understand why you guys like hearing someone telling you all this stuff, but make sure to pay close attention to everything he says all the way to the end of the video.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be back for yet another edition of the True Cho on Wheels channel. Once again, this is your guest commentator coming to you live on tape from True Cho World Headquarters. As we like to start all of these videos, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't done so yet, definitely subscribe and like all the videos that you're watching. Thank you, of course, to True Cho himself for filming all the content and editing it and all of the rest of it. It's a ton of work, and I think all of us really appreciate that. As the bot said, there was a little confusion. This is yet another ride that has two regroups, and there was a little confusion as to whether we were actually going to stop at the first one or not. And so we're starting this video basically from the beginning of the second regroup. There was parts of going into that first regroup where some of us thought we were maybe not going to stop, and then it became clear that we were going to stop. So there's actually some good efforts on there, especially on Royal Oak. I think there's a few people that were really pushing hard on Royal Oak, but we're starting at the regroup, the first regroup. And right away, we're sort of in this like really cool neighborhood that kind of has like a staircase feel to it. You're kind of keep going up a level and then flattens out, and then up a level and then flattens out. And almost immediately, Jay Quadroki it just rolled up alongside the group and just kept on rolling. True Cho tried to bridge, eventually made a very wise decision that the group wasn't coming with him. And so he kind of laid back for all these guys. And you can see that Jake is just up ahead. He's got Ross with him. What Ross lacks in responses to things like hello, he makes up for in big watts. He's a pretty good rider. He's relatively new to the group, but he's already kind of proven himself to be a pretty strong rider, usually rolling the front. And so right here, Jake and Ross are still off just a tiny little bit. Caleb, who had a pretty good day, as well as Kevin, Faded Black Jersey Guy, are just about there hunting down Jake and Ross. You can see Jake and Ross just crested that little hill. That next group of three is taking a hard right onto this descent here. This is a very tricky, very technical descent. There's a couple of twists and turns, and of course at the bottom there's a stop sign, so it's a really tricky one. Truccio sort of just off the front of the main field here. And as you can see from behind him, everybody is pretty much Grupo Compacto. I mean, that little section through the neighborhood was hard. It was fast, but pretty much kept everybody together. I would say that, because of that regroup, like sort of being there, I think most people were kind of expecting this to stay together, but everybody just sort of felt like they wanted a break, and so it was just one of those mornings where each time the road went up, everybody was kind of looking at each other. So right now, that little group has in fact caught Jake. They're just barely off the front of the main field here. Truccio is still sitting on the front, hunting him down. Sitting on his wheel is Albert, looking very strong and lean right now. Somehow or other, actually, Ross is now with us. I have no idea, but coming through there is Jason in that blue jersey, just off of Albert on the rear cam. I see John McKinley. So a lot of guys rolling towards the front on each of these little twists, sort of everybody waiting to see if something was going to go. I think after last week and the first part of this week, I think people did not want to miss the moves. Kind of descending here towards a light. Last time we hit this ride, this light was a little tricky as it was yellowish red as the group approached. So once again, I think people are kind of riding on the edge of the saddle, trying to make sure they're not going to miss something. But this is a real red light, and we are fully Grupo Compacto. No one is off the front, and I don't believe anybody is off the back because of the regroup. Pretty good-sized group that rolled out this morning, somewhere in the 27, 28 range. A lot of good riders showed up this week. We did have some of those riders that Truccio is kind of like almost calling like the in-betweeners, in between like proper second, proper third. So pretty good group. Lot of good riders, a lot of people putting in efforts, a lot of people taking polls, contributing to the front. Here we're turning onto Cannon, and this is the start of probably, I would think, maybe the hardest section of the ride. I would say this is probably like the hardest section. Maybe the next little chapter after this would maybe be also about the same. But basically, right here, we're kind of coming out of that neighborhood that we were just in, and about a mile or so up from right here begins a bunch of stairs, if you will, that like little climbs that kind of level off and then climb again, that go through like this big cemetery. And Jason is kind of controlling the front, which is something that he's known to do. He's very good at just sort of setting a tempo, and most people sort of fall in behind him when he does this. Sort of acting like a patron of the group, which is much appreciated. You can see the guys all around us, and I mean, we're kind of surrounded by some pretty good guys here. Kevbot is up to our right. John Musey is dead ahead of us. McKinley is a little bit ahead of Kevbot. Aaron Choi, of course, as I mentioned, Jason, Ryan, and last but not least, I think we have Chris rolling up there. Chris, a lot of good guys, faded black jersey guys sitting on Truccio's wheel, and Dory sitting back there as well. Frank Hurdle, who has probably the biggest pain face out of all these folks. Mark Klingsbeard sitting right to faded black jersey guys right. So everybody's kind of anticipating. I think no one's going super duper hard, but it's also not, easy either. This is probably faster than how most of us are doing our Sunday rides. Maybe the J&J is an exception to that, but most of us on our Sunday rides are going out a little bit easier than this would be. And again, we're just about to, kind of hit this flat road, and then from there it's going to start those stairs that I talked about, and we start going up through the cemetery. And I think most people here know that whether this is going to be a very fast edition of this ride or not, that cemetery stair section is always going to be pretty tough. Even on the days where it's not as fast, it's one of those spots where you want to find your gearing before it starts. You want to follow the right wheels. You don't want any gaps opening. It can be hard. Caleb is lurking back there, and when he's not sitting on the front, I suspect he's got something in mind on this cemetery section. So we're just kind of rolling towards these stairs. There have been some hard stuff so far on the ride, so a little bit of recovery for everybody right here. Couple of red lights on this section that can happen. We're coming to a light as we speak. Of course, it's red. After this light, it'll probably be game on for the cemetery. And sometimes it could be game on for quite a bit after that as well, if the lights work out. Group is now kind of got the first stair of the cemetery climbs in sight. I suspect most people are trying to determine big ring versus small ring. I will tell you that I've done it both ways, and for me, it's more comfortable to be small ring for this section. Trucho sitting to my left as we're making this video, I will tell you right now, he's absolutely big ring on this. He definitely stays in the big ring way longer than I would normally do, but it works very effectively for him. Coming on screen here for the first time, we have everybody's favorite No Pole Michael sitting directly behind Trucho. Herman sitting also kind of behind Trucho. Tony as well coming on screen for the first time, and Matt Stout, who will undoubtedly be back on screen in a couple minutes from now. But here we are. We're on the first step. The climb of the cemetery has officially started. Mark is standing. Albert is sitting. There's not a right or a wrong. It's just interesting to see how different people are going to be handling this. We're sort of, very much in kind of tight quarters here. But I will tell you on the front right now, Jake and another rider that I wasn't really super familiar with started to just pull away a little bit. We're definitely, it's hard to see it quite happening, but just happening as we speak. A younger rider in an all-black kit, and I don't know if those were high socks or some sort of calf compression guards or something like that, but that kid really kind of did the initial launch, and along went Caleb, Jake, and Faded Black Jersey Guy. There is a small gap. I don't think it's ever got much past 10 to 20 seconds from the group, but there is a slight gap. I can kind of see, as I'm looking like just past John Musey, a little gap. I think at this point it's probably only a few seconds, but eventually it gets to probably be about 10 or 15 seconds. Shane Scallions is, we're just passing as we speak. Now we're seeing a good image of Chris. And you can see that little tiny group is just off. If you look past Manuel here in the gray bib and green jersey dead ahead of us, Jason back on the front and is trying to keep those guys under control. I think for Jason, I think for John McKinley, Dory, Albert, I think that move was probably not a huge threat to them, but I think it was just enough that they didn't really want to let it go on the off chance that there were green lights on the Newport, on Newport itself. Also coming onto camera for the first time in this video is John Sermon. Some people call him the Sermonator. Very nice young rider who hadn't been around the group for a while and came back this week, and it was great to ride with him. Always great to ride with him. We're descending now off of the cemetery climb. Those little steps have come and gone. Small little group is now probably only 3 or 5 seconds up. I mean, they're basically right there. And effectively, now that chapter is kind of come and gone, we're about to make a hard right onto Newport, and there is a possibility of a green light at the bottom of this little descent. Jason took that corner real hard, real strong, and is just with the way he cornered, basically is almost back on top of those 4 guys up front. Single file, so it was a hard turn, hard descent. Again, there's like a little bit of urgency when you first turn because you can't quite see this light that we're about to see now. And on the off chance it's green and there's a little gap, if that small group gets through there, it might get red by the time the main group comes through, and that could be the last time we see that group until the next regroup. So that's where that urgency was, that single file. But obviously we're all coming to a dead stop here. It's clearly red. I think we all know it's red. But at the same time, it's just a good friendly reminder to everybody to just kind of watch these reds here. Don't try to jump across them. It is one thing to do that when you're alone, but when you're on the group ride, even if you make it through, if somebody ends up following you and cars are turning, it could be really, really, really bad. So safety issues here. Anyhow, we're kind of coming into this next chapter where we finished the cemetery and we're going to roll along this road here called Newport. And in about a mile or so, there's a nice little kicker. It's like more than a roller and not quite a proper climb. It's not a very long segment in terms of Strava, but it's just steep enough that on these fast group rides, you want to be on the right wheels. You want to be in your right gearing. Is after that there's a long descent and then comes sort of the sprint section. So from here there's already people thinking in their mind about the sprint. This is a really fun sprint in that it's not a city limit. This is one of the very few Saturday group rides that we do where the sprint isn't coming back into town or a city limit sign. This is one where there's just this little sort of section on Crawford Canyon proper. The road kind of goes up a small roller, and it's kind of even undefined where the actual line, the finish line even is. I'm not 100% sure I know where it is, and I've done this ride seemingly a million times. It's probably a few hundred times, but somewhere up there is the sprint. And so anyhow, there's thoughts of that already, thoughts towards the sprint already happening as we speak. A couple more red lights that we're hitting here. Most of the group is trying to recover a little bit from the last efforts. I could see Jake and Faded Black Jersey Guy discussing their somewhat valiant efforts on the cemetery. Once we get through this light, the road is going to bear a little bit towards the right, and we'll probably get our first glimpse of this roller / climb that I was just mentioning. People are probably thinking that they kind of don't want to be too far back on this thing. I mean, I can kind of see a bubble here of a lot of the sort of faster folks sort of lining up. Starting with Ryan and McKinley and Jake Quadroki and Kevin. Trucho is trying to get a little jump on this roller, which is actually a pretty good move, I think. Best way to not miss separation in anticipation of the sprint is just to be up ahead. As long as you don't hit the wall and and you know, kind of bonk, and the group kind of collects you. But you can see on the rear cam, I mean, Trucho's definitely in a very short amount of time just jumped out to a solid 15-ish second gap. He's probably slowing down a little bit right here, but with the gap that he already has, I would say that's like insurance. He's definitely getting over this little roller. I mean, no doubt about it. He might not come across it first or second, but he's going to be there with the leaders. And so that little move of like sort of getting an early jump was actually a great move. Most of the rest of the group is actually kind of grupo compacto. I mean, we might be losing a couple of people off the back, but you can kind of see on the rear cam just a whole bunch of bodies riding in close quarters together. I will tell you that Mark Klingsbeard set tempo on the front of the group for most of that climb and really did a fantastic job. I mean, his effort and his watts were very, very consistent and consistently hard. Up ahead of us, if you're wondering, that is the evergreen Matt Stout, who is the one who went through that red light that I sort of just did a little scolding about back at Newport. He really didn't mean to do it, but it was a little scary because as he jumped through that light, there was a car turning, and so it gave a lot of us a good little scare. But Matt's still up, and now as you can see, that group has crested over the little climb, and Trucho can actually now sort of almost recover a little bit here, while everybody else is still a little bit gassed from the climb. John McKinley doing basically putting on a clinic on how to descend and weave his way very safely through a group of riders. Faded Black Jersey guy is definitely thinking about the turn coming up onto Crawford. But everybody is sort of bunched up here, and Matt is going through another red light. So kudos to most of the group for stopping at these red lights. I think by the new rules of the game. Hello, Aaron. Nice to see you. Matt has been DQ'd twice on this ride. So on the off chance Matt wins the sprint, he's going to get relegated to the back of the field, and the next place rider will receive the official sprint prize. John Sermon kind of moving up a little bit. He knows these routes just well enough to know that there is some action coming. John McKinley sees that group right there of like Jason John and likes the way that looks. No Pole Michael is doing a fantastic job seeing as little of the front as possible but not really missing anything. Caleb is sitting on the front, did a good job of pointing out the turn, moving all the way over to the left to get the best apex through the turn that he possibly can. And the group makes it through pretty nice. Some people did jump across the line there, but pretty nice turn. And right here is where the positioning for the sprint is just critical. You can see that John Sermon is maybe about in the 5th or 6th position right now. Scallions is seeing if he can maybe jump up a few spots. And all of a sudden we are getting construction signs. There's cars. There's a lot of freewheeling, some braking. This is not normally right here. You're going to see a single file line, and everybody is going to be basically on the tip of their saddle. And now we are at a full stop. There is construction happening here on Crawford today. I am sorry to say that this sprint has effectively been neutralized. A couple of guys kind of try to start something after this dead stop, but as far as I'm concerned, that sprint was basically neutralized. There's cars that have to make it through. There's all of us. It's just not meant to be today, unfortunately. This is a really fun sprint. I'm bummed out that the construction interrupted it. I think it would have been fun for the videos. But 8 weeks from now, we will be back on this route, and we will see another edition where hopefully Truccio and his pals will come through here single file. Basically, this little section here is a slight descent. There's not quite a hard right. It's almost like a soft right. And right about there where this right is, you basically want to be about 4th, 5th, or 6th in my estimation, because there's about 150 meters of flat road here where whoever's on the front, maybe even number 2, will probably burn their matches. And then maybe you want to let the guy who's currently in like the 3rd spot start the little roller. So if you're in like the 5th spot, you could probably come over the roller and still have an opportunity to actually start your sprint. This is a hard one to gear for because of this little roller. I mean, you kind of want to be in a gear where you can kind of come over this roller comfortably, but then you have to either click down a notch or just simply sprint in that other gear. There's a game of Frogger happening here by King Albert. Truccio, Faded Black Jersey Guy, and a few others are just kind of rolling across. Dory, another glimpse of Dory just ahead of us. I will tell you, we're going to talk about the game in just a second, but Dory on today's ride collected yet another crop of QOMs, and this game doesn't necessarily break it down, on the male-female side, but on the daily ride side of the Strava board, she's basically been putting up top, 5, 6, 7s on all of the weeks that she's been there. So, I mean, she is just a fantastic pick for the game, which we're going to talk about in just a sec. Basically, the sprint, which didn't happen, we just kind of came through that section. And in just another 30 seconds or so, we're going to make a left into a neighborhood, and that is usually where we're going to see regroup number 2. So once again, as I said before, this is one of the rides that is a 2 regroup ride, and there has been some discussion. I'd say more discussion lately from the last week's ride than I've heard in quite a while, but there's been a lot of discussion amongst a lot of people. Do we need 2 regroups on some of these rides? Do we need 2 regroups today? Last week's ride, some of the others that are carbon forwards. Do some of these rides need 2 regroups, or is this group 3 group, kind of gotten to a point where longer sections to make separations could be more fun? I see both sides of the discourse. Anybody who wants to kind of share their thoughts or feelings, please leave a comment. Hopefully there'll be some conversation about that. Right now on screen, Truccio is showing us some screenshots from what the Team Velocity, by the way, that'll be probably the last time you hear me say that, but the Team Velocity fantasy game, what the interface actually looks like. On the right-hand side, there's a whole bunch of riders with different weeks under their names, and that kind of tabulates sort of what the overall ride spreadsheet for each week looks like, giving riders a total number of points. And then on the left-hand side of that screenshot were the different teams that have been set up. And so far we've got 5 people that have set up teams. Mark Ortel is the most recent person to create a team, and he took our advice from the first video. He looked through the list and found some gems, and by that I mean there's a weighting of points for people that are actually either Group 2 riders or 2 going on to 3 riders. They get more points than Group 3 riders. And so Mark heard what we said. He looked at the official rules, he's a lawyer. He knows how to read the fine print, and he figured out picking some of the obvious choices, picking Jason, picking Ty, may not be the best move. He went with Dory, which is right now a really great place to put your point allocation. And he went with some other riders that basically shot him out based on the first week. So far, this week's totals haven't been updated into the system, but I suspect they're going to look similar to the first week. Based on the first week, he basically has a multiple of 3 on everybody else. I mean, the best placed person is in the mid 400s. Mark is sitting at 1,200 and change. So it would take almost a miracle for the rest of the month of August for anyone to actually catch Mark. Unless his riders stop showing up to the rides. If Dory has a trip to Europe, Mark could get in trouble. But if the same kind of folks show up for the next couple of weeks, Mark's team is one to look at. If you're trying to build a team right now and you're not really sure what to do, take a look at Mark's team. It's a really good group of choices. I would refer everybody to go a few weeks back because we spent a lot of time on the rules and stuff. So if you're kind of interested in the game, it might be good to go back to that video. It was right in the middle of the video at the regroup. We kind of went through some rules. I sort of threw out a couple of ideas on strategy of who to pick and why. So that might be a good video to refer to. It could also give you another chance to see another one of these videos if you haven't already seen that one yet. And if you haven't seen it yet and you're seeing it for the first time, maybe give it a like. It helps the True True on Wheels channel. So now we're kind of moving past that regroup. And this next sort of chapter of the ride kind of starts to weave us sort of back towards Fullerton. But we still have a few miles before we actually are in Fullerton. I'm going to guess, 5 to 7 miles from here to Fullerton. So this section can actually be quite fast. I've actually seen some gaps occur here, especially when groups 3 and 2 combine. There could be some group 2 people that are pushing it hard and don't quite realize that they're about to hit their wall, and that can create gaps. But even today's ride, just group 3 folks here, maybe the neutralization of the Crawford sprint, or maybe the end of summer blues, I don't know, but people kind of were staying on the gas here, which was fun. It was pretty safe, it was pretty fun, and so we're just kind of rolling along. I don't actually remember the name of this road, otherwise I would throw it out there, but we're just kind of basically making our way through probably Villa Park, heading towards maybe Anaheim, which will then take us to Fullerton proper. This hard right here can be tricky. There can oftentimes be oncoming traffic. I like Truccio's move right here, go outside in. That's a great way to find the apexes. People have been asking me in the last couple of weeks, why am I talking so much about finding lines, finding position? And I can't emphasize it enough. You could be the fastest person out here, but if you're taking the worst lines possible, you may not be the fastest person on the ride. Or I should say it a different way. You could be the strongest person out here, but you may not be the fastest person. Right now we're sitting on Jake. I don't know about anybody else, but ever since he switched over to white shoes, he just looks even faster than he already is. Pretty good cadence, pretty good pedal stroke. He's been definitely having an incredible couple of months on the bike. It's probably about as strong as I've ever seen him. Sitting on the rear cam right now is Aaron Choi. Clear indicator that somebody is getting a little tired or sitting at a pretty high level is when their elbows go flaring out like that. My own take on it is if you can kind of keep your body tucked nice and neat, you create less of a wind pocket, less of a parachute for yourself. It's also can be safer when it comes to group riding, so that you're not letting your space interfere with anybody else's space. Hard right here, Jake continues to be on the front. Looks like we have some cars up ahead. Dominic making an appearance on the rear cam right now. Dominic, very strong rider. Sort of still on the way back from some medical stuff that he had going on, but he's recovering pretty well, and he's regaining a lot of his strength each week. I'm seeing him a little bit stronger. It was great to see him out there this morning. Aaron, elbows are in now. He's more comfortable. He's taken his pull, not shirking his responsibility. Chucho sitting second here. This road here, there are a lot of lights, and there is definitely a bunch of traffic. In another minute or so, there is a dedicated bike lane, which is great, so it gets a little bit safer. Right now, the group is kind of taking the lane, which is actually a pretty smart and safe thing to do with a group this size. Kind of just lets the cars know that we're here. It is Saturday morning, and so there's 2 lanes, so if there is any cars that are trying to get around, it's pretty easy to get around us. John McKinley coming through, taking us into this green light. Directly ahead of us, there's a few guys that had peeled off from the regroup slightly ahead of the rest of the group. I think they were on their way to do extra miles, and so now we're going to kind of rejoin them. John is basically going to just kind of integrate with them, move right around them, and keep the momentum going. The game of Lemmings is such that these guys that are already on Chilsey mode are now going to activate their fast twitch muscles and start to get back integrated into the group ride. No Pull Michael is coming up. I will tell you right now, if John McKinley looks like he's opening up a gap anywhere on these rides, No Pull Michael and Caleb will be there. I mean, they are like magnets to John's big old hunk of iron. I mean, they do not want to let John go. As I'm saying it, right behind No Pull is in fact Caleb. I think John should be flattered. He's got some adoring fans, and I'm a fan too. I just don't make it quite as obvious. Ross is also kind of like rolling towards the front here. As I mentioned before, this section, lots of lights. I mean, we actually have had some luck here. That's the second one that wasn't a hard red when we came to it, which is nice. But there's going to be more reds coming up. These sections on some of these rides where we're kind of heading back into town, like on Weir Canyon, when we're heading back on La Palma is another good example. These sections can really be very, very hard because we've already gone through some like hard effort sections of the rides. People have already been making efforts. And then we kind of come to these flatter sections where people get it up pretty fast and then kind of slam on the brakes for the red light, and then the green light happens and everybody kind of gets back up hard. And so that sort of on-off thing can really, really wear you down. That was another nice green light that we just rolled through safely. There was no one that had to fight a yellow or a red there, which was nice. Sermonator sitting on Jason's wheel, and we are in fact coming to another red light. Interestingly, earlier, about an hour before this was shot, going into the first regroup, meets this road that we're sitting at right now actually serves as probably the hardest part of that first regroup. So it's we're kind of coming sort of full circle on the ride itself. When you see it on Strava, it almost looks like it makes like a horseshoe. Caleb accidentally ended up on the wrong side of this red light, and good sportsmanship. He's just kind of sitting up there. He's not even really pedaling yet. He knows that he wants to wait for the group. So I appreciate seeing that. Little bit of a wait here for the red light. Herman's in good spirits, making jokes. Everybody telling Matt that we're happy to see him. I think a lot of us were scared. So again, we're going to kind of stay on this road for a minute, and we're kind of heading towards Fullerton. Technically, there is another sprint at the Fullerton city limit sign. I would say over the years, that sort of final sprint of this ride hasn't been as hotly contested as I remember it being, like, say, 15-ish years ago. I think that section on Acacia has just gotten busier with cars. I don't really remember a time recently where we've gone through there where there haven't been some sort of car issues. And so I think most of the fast times, like if you look at the top 10 on Strava for that segment, I don't think that top 10 has actually changed in at least 10 years. There might be somebody who's entered into the list in the top 10, but most of those top 10s were set, like, I don't know 100% off the top of my head, but I want to tell you, like, 2012-ish, 2013, something like that. So most of the rest of the segments on most of these rides have turned. You know, like, even if you were once on the top of one of these boards 10, 15 years ago, there's probably new people on that board if you haven't looked at it in a while, because these rides just keep getting faster. And our group goes through these rides, and there's 15 rides that we keep repeating over and over again. But there's a lot of other people that ride on these roads, other group rides that come on these roads, other fast riders that are just riding onesies, twosies. And so these Strava boards do get rewritten. That Fullerton city limit sign, though, is been pretty static for a while. Here, Trucho is really in a great spot. I mean, he's top 6 or 7. Jason doing his Patron business, kind of pacing the front. But this is a really good place to be. You're not going to miss the moves when you're sitting in a spot like this, especially if you're geared right for it. But you're also not really doing a ton of the work either. So it's a great place to be. I don't know if that look back from Jason was him looking to see if it was time for him to initiate something, or if we just simply were all together. I suspect it's the latter, because there's a couple of lights coming up here, and then we're going to be making a left. And that light there is almost always red. But it looks like behind us we are pretty much Grupo Compacto, meaning everyone is all together. I don't think anyone is off the back from the regroup at this point. That section that we were just on was fast, but not fast that I think anybody would get dropped. I think pretty much everybody that started the ride today would be able to make it through that section. Faded black jersey guy reappearing, been taking a little nap in the back for a while. This is the left-hand turn, and it pretty much is just about red. Jason rolled it, but the rest of the group made a very wise decision to sort of stop. I think Jason actually did have to kind of hustle home a little bit today, so I think he's got his excuse. But once we kind of make this left, we're now going to be on Lincoln, pretty main road in Anaheim, and we're only going to be on it for a mile or so, and then we're going to make a right, and at that point we're getting pretty close to Fullerton. At this point here, we're probably, from the Fullerton city limit sign, we're probably, I would guess, just a guess, but I'm going to say about 3 to 4, maybe 4 miles. I think that most people are probably not that concerned about that city limit sign. I think for most people, they've kind of made it through a lot of the ride, not getting dropped, doing some hard efforts, and I think that, for a lot of people, they're kind of satisfied, probably a little disappointed that the Crawford sprint got neutralized, but just happy that it's been a pretty good ride so far for everybody. I think I haven't seen all of the Strava stuff yet, but I think that this week is going to be kind of similar to last week in that there was a lot of good people out today, and I think it's going to be an interesting sort of total on this on the Trucho game in terms of first through say 10 or 12. But I think that there's going to be people that are going to be on some of the boards and then not on others, because there's just a lot of good people putting out energies and efforts in different spots along the way. Here we have another red light, and after that, this section can be a little bit on the fast side. It's a slight downhill. a little bit of traffic, which kind of forces everybody onto the right side. The most comfortable way to do it is single file. You can ride 2x, but most of the time this next section can be pretty fast, and it's just a good spot to try to be in a good position so that you're not letting gaps open up in front of you or in front of the person that you're sitting on or in front of them. Sometimes even if you're sitting on somebody who's a really great rider, if they're 5 or 6 riders back and in that mix there's somebody who's maybe riding at the top of their limit, if that gap happens, then everybody behind them is going to be forced to kind of go around it or just simply start getting gapped out. Again, that light went green, and there's already a few people that literally have a 2-second gap. I mean, that's how quickly these things happen when the road goes downhill. Everybody is sort of definitely on the pedals here. Another green light, and so at this point that little group is actually got a few seconds, and so you can kind of see pretty quickly Albert, Scallions, trying to see who else is up there. I think Dory are going to go hunt those people down. I would say at this point it's possible that little group, if they don't get chased down, could, if the lights cooperate, could actually make it all the way back to Fullerton. And you can see right now on both cameras we are single file. Behind us just a second ago, Mark was gritting his teeth. The Albert group is just about done closing down the gap. Caleb is going to bridge over the 2 seconds. Now John McKinley is going to follow Caleb, and effectively this is going to be Grupo Compacto in just another few seconds. And like clockwork, No Pole sitting directly on John McKinley. No Pole will fight tooth and nail for that wheel, especially going into sprints. I learned that the hard way a couple of months ago, and I've just decided to try a different strategy. He is kind of ruthless on these sprints. This is that hard right that I had mentioned. Trucho making a nice wide turn to get a smooth line through there. That's almost always the best place to do it. Herman sitting on Trucho's wheel with Mark sitting on his wheel. Another rider that I haven't unfortunately been able to mention yet today, but a dude who had a fantastic day, somebody who probably is maybe still considered a second group rider, but has been coming out to the third group. Of course I'm talking about the maroon shorts with the white long sleeve jersey, Theron Bell. Very good rider. I think probably just a very good athlete, because he's kind of picked up bikes and kind of pretty quickly got very strong. I suspect over the next couple of years he's going to be a firm member of Group 3 at some point, and will eventually be somebody to look at on a lot of these courses. Like today's course would probably suit him really, really well. Not a lot of really long, hard climbs, a lot of rollers, a lot of places to just kind of keep on the gas. Right now, we're just crossing over the world-famous Santa Ana River Trail, and some of this group is going to peel off here and start doing some extra credit on SART, or Santa Ana River Trail. It's a great place to go seeking out miles without traffic lights and great views of river trail heroes. All sorts of interesting folk on the river trail. Group has got to make a left here. This is a spot that I'm not really sure why, but people have a hard time understanding red lights and waiting for cars. I see a lot of dangerous stuff at this light most of the time that we do it. It's an enigma to me, but this is a great place to remind everybody when it's red, just stay put. No need to roll. No need to roll. No need to roll. No need to roll. I don't know what that dude is doing. So dangerous. So dangerous. when you're by yourself, you can honestly do whatever you want. I mean, what he just did, I do by myself all the time. But when you have a huge group of people sitting on you, there's some responsibility that comes with that. It's just a horrible move. Even right now, the light goes green, and you can see everybody wants to start rolling, but there's all this traffic coming towards us. So if we just are patient, we'll find a gap. I mean, this gap right here maybe is okay, but it's not even okay. So I appreciate the fact that Trucho has just sort of parked himself here, waiting for the right gap to open up. This is perfect. This is going to get everybody through. Absolutely perfect. This section here, I think this is called Frontage Road. It rolls directly parallel with the 91 freeway. And this is usually a fast section. There's oftentimes a little bit of debris on this like bike lane shoulder thing. There is sometimes a little bit of a head or a crosswind. So, you know, it's like a spot where I don't think things are going to necessarily get away, but riding towards the front like Trucho's doing is a really good thing, because even if it's not about worrying about if something's going to get away, if the gap opens and a group of people have to close it down, that's just energy that's basically being spent for no good reason. Mark sitting on the hoods comfortably on Trucho's wheel. Trucho now sitting on Ross's wheel. Pretty fast. We've done it faster and we've done it slower. This is pretty fast. Everybody's pretty much on their pedals, putting in some, you know, real watts here. Alfredo coming up hard on the outside. Kind of a cool move in the sense of it's just going to force everybody to go a little bit faster, which only makes it safer. It's, you know, something that I don't think even in his wildest imagination he thought he was getting away necessarily, but hey, if you want to be, you know, in a situation where you're not missing stuff, that, you know, it's not a bad idea to just kind of throw yourself up towards the front. You know, at this point, we've been through most of the hard stuff of this ride. This group ride itself is kind of, you know, winding down. And so whatever energy got left, you know, for some people, they're just going to want to throw it out there a little bit. Faded black jersey guy sitting on Trucho's wheel. Herman shutting that little gap down very nicely. Coming around this little bend here is going to be a traffic light. It's almost always red, but you just never know. And after that, we're going to be making a left turn onto La Palma. And that's going to, La Palma itself will be the beginning of the real positioning and the real thinking towards the Fullerton city limit. Michael does love this city limit. I mean, he contests it pretty much every time we go through here. Aaron Choi back towards the front here. He's a good dude to have at the front here. He can put in some like pretty hard digs in situations like this. McKinley not looking to get left out of the sprint. He just kind of rolled through. Tony sitting on the rear cam, got sort of a good set of eyes on the road right now. Herman's telling faded black jersey guy to get a new jersey and please get some new gloves. I like what that new kid just did. Even in close quarters, he's pointing out the potholes. Like I said before, I don't really know that guy too well, but seems like a good young kid who's seen him a couple times on these rides, and he seems like he's getting pretty fast. Got a red light here. We're in about a mile from this spot. We're going to be making a right-hand turn onto Acacia, and that right-hand turn is sort of, I don't know how the Strava section works, but if you're thinking about the sprint, from there to the city limit sign is probably, I would say, maybe 550 meters, something like that. And so it's not time to open it up, but if you're thinking about, either being one of the lead out guys or thinking about trying to contest it, you do not want to be too far back at that point. And so right here is a game of positioning. I mean, if you want to be still sort of in the mix when that turn happens, you probably don't want to be straight on the front right now, but you also don't want to be way in the back either. So it's a fine balance. No Pole Michael has a tiny gap. Faded Black is going to try to bring him back. Looks like Mark and Aaron are going to... actually, at this point, they can all see that there's a red light coming up. So that's kind of why the effort came off there. This light here is almost always red. And so if it's in fact green, a gap like this can be a problem. But it's red. And so people are, not really looking to burn matches going to a red light. That doesn't ever make any sense. John Musey, haven't talked about him enough yet today. He was strong as ever today. Was kind of always in the mix. Always consistent and strong. Another dude that I don't think we've mentioned yet is Frank Hurdle. Giving John a little hug there, talking through something or other. I'm not really sure what's going on, but that sounds like an interesting conversation. And once this light goes green, there's a potential for one more red, but from there out, we're really kind of looking at positioning, and then the conversation about, in your mind starts to happen about gearing. Whether you're approaching a climb and trying to think about gearing, do I want to be in the big ring or small ring? Whether you're approaching a sprint, it's not necessarily on the sprint side of things. It's not big ring, small ring. Of course, it's going to be big ring. What it comes down to is what's the gear that I can actually get on top of? And by that, I mean start to spin a high enough cadence where you can actually, be getting, into your sprint wattage and actually sitting on top of the gear. If you're behind the gear or muscling it, spinning a low cadence, there's just no way you're going to be able to pull off a fast sprint, and there's no way to be responsive to other people that are surging. If there's a surge that's happening and you're in a really big gear behind it, it's really hard to get on, to sort of, match the effort that's happening next to you. If you're on a smaller gear with a higher cadence, you have a much greater chance of at least having gearing on your side to try to, shut something down. This right here is the red, is the hard right. It's red, and so people are taking it with a little bit of caution, but we are wisely rolling it. At this point, as you could see on the rear cam, there is definitely a gap. I mean, this little group of people, I would call this about 10 people at this point. No one is really taking it up on the front. I suspect that there's some traffic, car traffic ahead of us. No one's really taking it up. Mark is kind of going up there. Jake is already up there doing something or other. And now we can see this group has come on from behind. Tony, John Musey, Chris, our breakaway specialist. All of a sudden, Faded Black has kind of come forward. There's a slight lull of energy, not to toot one's own horn, but Faded Black sees it, but chooses the absolute worst gear you can imagine. There's a car right there that causes a little bit of a hesitation, and right here is that lull. This lull right here is a great opportunity. Faded Black is literally 2 gears off from where he should be. He's so far behind the gear. His cadence is, I'm just watching it just decrease as the meters are ticking by. You can see the city limit sign now on the right-hand side. Right here, we're probably only at about 100 or so meters. John is spinning a correct sprint gear, same with Michael. And, of course, Trucho is right there as well. So Faded Black had some ideas there that weren't terrible, but the execution was horrible. That's the Fullerton city limit. And that's kind of the unofficial end of this week's ride. Another great video from our good friends at Trucho on Wheels. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe. Please like all the videos you're watching. If you see Trucho on the rides, tell him how much you're enjoying the videos. Leave comments below. That's fun. Thank you to the channel for inviting me back. I've really enjoyed doing these videos, and can't wait to see you all soon on the road. Keep the rubber side down.